What's happening, y'all, baby? 2022,
Yeah, what's going on, y'all? This is yours truly. This is the Rex coming at you full power and exact with that James Brown payback. Uncut, baby, 2024 here in a house like this. This is the True to Form Funk Prophet. Indeed, and welcome to the Funk Lounge Talk Theater, baby. And it is what it is. We're coming at you homemade from scratch, no stage gimmicks. This is how we do it. We can fade out, Mr. B. Thank you so much. You know, I'm at the new Mousetrap Studios, and I must say this is awesome. I mean, oh my goodness. It's like when you look at the cover of the book, it looks like, nondescript, which is the best way to do it. You know, you don't want to be too out there. You don't want the cover of the book like just at you. But man, once you come open that book and come inside the pages and turn the pages, it's lovely. It's a beautiful story. You know, I want to from the jump before I bring on my fantastic special guest who is knowledgeable and who knows what time it is without the watch. I want to thank all of the people, man, the students at DU, all the colleges, my new young friends, Marcus and Aiden, who does my graphics for me and what have you. I want to say I appreciate you so much and thank you so much. And all you young people who I call old school spirits, I really appreciate you for being interested in what I'm talking about. Like I said, you don't need friends anymore. You need elders. You don't need equals. You need elders. So I'm glad you young people listen to what I had to tell you and how I enjoy what you say. You come back like days or weeks later and tell me everything I've told you. You've written it down. You give me a response. So it lets me know that you're listening. Because when you get away from me, you can get back into your world and do what you do. But when you come back and tell me what I said to you and what you learned from it, that makes me feel so happy, man, because my job is to, as an adult, while I'm here on this planet, 10 minutes out of the hour, all I want to do is just spread the knowledge. You know, we're living in very crazy, uncertain times right now, man. This month of July has been off the hook. I didn't know what a devil was until I saw one. I mean, I've seen devils in horror movies and people dress up as a devil, for Halloween. But to see one live and in person on television is deep. That police officer, Deputy Sean Grayson, shot that woman, man, Sonia Massey, that innocent woman. Y'all know the story. And I'm not going to repeat it because y'all seen it over and over again. But the beautiful part about it is to have white police officers, rednecks, bubbas, even racist cops say that ain't right, that was wrong. I mean, I was on the internet. I was looking at like real southern, redneck cops, man, who I know, they do some stuff. But when they said, that ain't right, that was deep. And when I said the devil is alive and well, that man is a devil. And for her to say, I rebuke you before the situation even happened, that means she saw something coming. That spirit. So I want to say God bless the Massey family. God bless them. Also, over in London, man, yesterday, this young kid goes into a dance studio where there's beautiful children dancing to music, and he goes in there and stab them. Hey, oh God. This mental illness is off the chain. We're living in a crazy world, man, and people are programmed to be crazy because people are telling them they're crazy. It's really not crazy out here, but when people give into the propaganda, they get into the crazy only because they're being told to be a nutcase. We need to really calm down and we need to really flip the script, and that's why here at the Funk Lounge Talk Theater, we specialize in stimulating music, sounds, and everything. And this wonderful man I have coming on the microphone, man, has music that can be a good theme to people calming down. And he's one of our regulars. I'm talking about who I call Dr. R&B Doug Ramsay. How you doing, my man?
What's up, Rex? How are you this evening, sir?
Man, I'm trying to maintain in this nutty world, man. What's going on with you nowadays, man?
Oh man, just taking care of business, man. It's a day by day thing, planning for the future if the future reaches me. So you do that, but generally I'm just trying to cross my T's and dot my I's, so to speak, on a daily basis.
And for those of the people who are not aware of what we're doing and who we are, and I want to tell people, I have a lot of videos out there with Mr. Lamar Webster, Mose Davis, Doug's partner, Mr. Dan McCullum. And I'm very happy of the views I'm getting. See, I'm the kind of person, I ain't worried about getting 1,000 views. As long as I get people interested in what I'm doing, it's going to build up. So I just want to say, Doug, you're a part of it, and I appreciate your knowledge so much.
Thank you, man. I definitely appreciate that. One thing I like to go by in terms of a lot of things, since we're talking about social media real quick, there's a phrase I like to use often that you reminded me of when you said that just now, and that's quality over quantity. You know, that's it. That's what I believe. That's what the Funk Lounge Talk Theater is going to be. You're going to have quality. You may not go viral, as they say on social media, immediately, but the quality of your viewers and the comments that they'll leave will speak volumes for your platform.
Thank you, kind sir. And here. It totally is about the people. And what's so good about it, Doug, is the response I get back from the shows. They're beautiful. They're nice. They're beyond what I expected, man. It's nice.
Excellent. Good.
And again, Doug, how did we meet, brother? Tell people how we met.
We are one of the elder statesmen that still use Facebook, and we find value out of it, although TikTok and other platforms have been the rage for the younger folks, but that's fine as well. That's good. We met in a Facebook forum called the Slave Funk Family. Basically, that forum is about the group Slave. Steve Arrington, help me out here. A minute so much.
Starlina Young.
There you go.
Kurt Jones.
The whole Slave family.
Mr. Steve Washington.
That's right. Right.
The late, great, fantastic Han Solar, Mark Adams.
That's right. Absolutely. We met in that group and began to form a relationship in terms of discussing what we discussed, finding out that we are cut from the same cloth terms of coming up and when we were born. And we understand and have seen the evolution of R&B.
Go ahead, brother. Come on.
Oh, that's exactly how we connected, actually.
And you know what, Doug? I love how you said that, man, because being strangers, but not being strangers through the music. The last conversation we had a couple of months ago, man, on part 1 and part 2, when we were talking about how we came up, the fashion, the style, the attitude. It's so important, man, that young people learn about life before thug life, belly to the pavement, Section 8 welfare, hypnotic, wicked, hair weave grooves, man, that make you a nutcase in its purest form. They had to know about even thugs had class. Even thugs wore suits. Thugs didn't kill you for no reason back in the day. There had to be a real purpose for a thug to do something to you. But now everybody's criminal-minded, man, and just doing stuff just to be doing it with no definition and no purpose. And music is just so deep, man. And speaking of music, man, Slave is a rare conversation, because when you look at PBS or other kind of shows, you never hear middle-class American black kids talk about their love for music. You always hear other races. See, you know, it's like you never hear the monkey talk. It's always the organ grinder.
That's a good visual, bro.
Okay,
good visual.
It's a scary visual too, mind you. But you never hear the monkey talk, man. And I'm the monkey. And I don't mind being the monkey, Jack, and I like bananas. I'll take it too. And man, and I say that because they never hear our story. They never hear about nerdy, classy, cool black kids, middle class, that ain't all from the projects and they're all from the hood. And we can hang there, but I'm from green grass and trees. And the music Slave, BT Express, mass production, brass construction, brick, Hamilton Bohannon. This was what we didn't know at the time in the 70s, Doug. It was soulful music, mental meditation. If you put on an Earth, Wind, and Fire album, man, it'll take your mind to different dimensions. And when Slave came on the scene, man, because don't forget, we had Sly and the Family Stone, we had Jimmy Castor, we had the Isley Brothers. You know, the Isley Brothers really don't get prop for the rock they was doing. Because the Isley Brothers, man, they were doing some really unique rock stuff.
Absolutely.
When the brother came, Ernie?
Yeah.
When Ernie came, man, who was influenced by Jimi Hendrix, because Jimi Hendrix was playing a lot of, he did a lot of local bands in Jersey and New York back in the 60s and 70s. And Who's That Lady, man? Live It Up. Who Loves You Better? That intro. You know, we American black kids never discussed their rock love, because we love rock. We love like AC/DC, Twisted Sister. You know, they never talked to us. And that's why I said Funk Lounge Talk Theater is so deep, because we really explore the variation of blackness, you know?
That leads me up to a question. That's actually a very good segue to a question I want to ask you. And you sort of partially answered it, but I'll let you expound a bit more. Tell me about your understanding regarding the differences in the music industry of the 80s and 90s versus today.
The difference is, you said the 80s?
80s, and actually you can take, since you just talked about it, you can take it as far back as the 60s, early 70s.
Thank
your
you.
pick.
For me, thank you. Let's start from the 60s on down. The difference is, man, you had, be careful with me, because I'm getting the Holy Ghost now, because you asked a perfect question. Instruments, creativity. I had no idea how important instruments was until I missed them, until the computer became to be. Back in the 60s, man, for some reason, let's talk about the black musician. And I had to do that because the black musician is so underrated and is really invisible. You know, to watch black men, black women pick up an instrument and be creative. We talked about this before on the other show, Mr. Doug, R&B Ramsay. We talked about how you go to most black homes back in the day, there was always a piano, there was congas, there was always some kind of instrument in there. And somebody in the house played that instrument. It could be grandma, auntie, Pookie, Nookie, Junebug.
Junebug.
Yeah, cornbread. But somebody played that instrument, man. And they didn't know they were creating new tunes. They were just playing. Say, where'd you get that from? I don't know. I just made it up. And that's the gift of just making something up with your hands, because your hands became an instrument. When your mind connected with the fingers, the creativity went run amok. You know, you didn't need no computer. See, a computer already gives you a self-made sound already. Then you just go from there. But when you just use your own homemade imagination, and when your own homemade imagination goes to your fingers, there's your creativity. There are so many young people from back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that came from the projects, including my father, Rex Garvin, born in Harlem, okay? They came from, and I don't like to use the hood, because that came out of the West Coast in '89, and Snoop Dogg and them NWA made the hood a culture, which is a nightmare in Technicolor. But I'm talking about nice people from the projects. Who you, I, and Doug McCullum, we hung in the projects, just hanging out. We had friends there, girls, whatever the case, but we hung there, not being from there, but we hung there. But it was safe, it was nice, it was funny, it was creative. They didn't want to kill you. And even the thug, man, if you got a guy that had an attitude problem and had that Mike Tyson mentality, you give him an instrument, he'll write a love song.
Good point.
I mean,
absolutely.
Right. Am I right, Doug? He may stick you up in the lunchroom, but he's right. But meanwhile, he goes down the basement and sings tenor. Ooh, wee, he's doing tenor.
Exactly.
And he's
exactly.
not. And he's dancing. These new people are too cool to dance. Nobody dance no more. Nobody dances because they're too cool to move. And it's like that's why I said this music is like it's like a trance dance. It's like you got, you know, they taking stuff now that can knock out a horse, they call it trank in Philadelphia. So, and just fentanyl. So you got this. I'm kind of rushing to where we are now, but I'm giving you the difference between back then and now. Back then, the drug of choice for people to be creative was a joint. And then if they did some cocaine, that was the epitome. That was too much. But cocaine was way too much. But a joint, or sometime no weed at all, just uncut mental creativity. But I'm just telling you, if they did a drug, it was weed. If they did it, it wasn't lethal. It didn't make them crazy. And plus, it made them creative. This new stuff now, I don't know what they put in this doggone weed. It makes you paranoid. You don't even get hungry. All you do is get scared. So, so back then, man, you had people with the God-given talent. And also, too, the difference back then was you had two levels of people. You had the musician and the audience member. See, the beauty of back then in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it was separate. You had the audience member, the performer, which means the audience member sat down in that chair and looked at that performer and said, I wish I can do that. I wish I can do that. They looked at you with a certain kind of glory, and that's what separated, made you above the rest. It made you a performer. It made you like a John Lennon, a Prince, a Elton John, a Michael Jackson, where you were different, where you wasn't an equal. This new show business now is like saying, okay, I can do that too. They're part of the Me Too movement. I can do that too. Which means I can play a computer too. So there's no separation. What has happened, the industry has leveled the playing field. Everybody's in show business now. There's no more audience member. The seats are empty because everybody's on stage.
Interesting.
Everybody got a camera. Everybody say I can do that too. You can no longer impress people. Okay? That's why I want to go back to the old school, because nobody's doing a tenor. Nobody's doing a bass like Eddie Kendricks. People forget. Back then, Doug, a tenor can get a record contract. Eddie Kendricks, Boogie Down, Keep on Truckin', Shoe Shine Boy, Girl, You Need to Change Your Mind. With a tenor voice. Ted Mills, a Blue Magic, a tenor. You don't get those no more, which is sad because it took away from soulful music, mental meditation. And what happened, the industry, not the government, the industry had really created black musical genocide in its purest form. Because with this unique government-funded Section 8 tricks, it did a mind game on our people, man. When you took away the instrument, you replaced it with the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I see your point.
Right, and then you got hypnotic sounds, and then what happens to enhance the mentally criminal insane? You got this bottom bass, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, Nick, boom, 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 boom. The guy riding down the street, 4 o'clock in the morning, his ass should be asleep, but he's driving down the street, boom, 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 and then he got this window down. He wants somebody else to hear that. And then he looks at you. True. He looks at you, and he dares you to look back at him. And then he's looking at you. And then he's gonna have the nerve to ask you what you're looking at when he's looking at you, playing that boom, 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 boom. And then the worst part you hear about that, yeah, nigga, bitch, boom, 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 boom. Like, God damn, when did you sleep? And then. And then when he do go to sleep, he wake up 3 o'clock in p.m., smoke a blunt, and what's he playing again? Boom, 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 boom. If you play a violin to him, he look at you like a deer caught in the headlights.
Totally different thing. Yes, absolutely.
Totally. If you play a cello or a flute, he don't know what to do. And then if you want to keep it real, if you do this, da, 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 da. Yo, man, shut up. I don't want to hear that shit, man. Turn that shit off. I don't want to hear that. And that's the sad condition of a lot of our people, young people, who ain't been off the block, and that's how they are. They ain't all they've been to is Dollar Tree and back.
This is true. Yeah, that happens a lot.
It happens a lot, bro. And this is a generation. So what happens? We are creating a generation of vaudeville idiot throwbacks. Dr. King, no purpose. Mega Evers, Fannie Lou Hamer, no purpose. They don't even know who that is. They don't know who it is. They don't know the people that got water holes, that died, that got lynched, everything for their freedom, and they don't get it. And what happens, you can't get mad at them. Why? Because they're victims of circumstances. Somebody put something in the chicken wings and the Kool-Aid, okay? And this is where we at. So you asked me the difference. The industry did a flip, not the government, the industry. And what happens is you had no more music lovers in the industry. What happened then, in the late 80s, when that doggone drum machine came out,
Mm-hmm.
in the early 80s, that drum machine, and then what happens when people found that drum machine, you can get different sounds from that. It took away from the musician. Then you got to think too. Back in the 70s, there was like 13 or 14 people in the band wearing jumpsuits.
That's another story.
That's another. Okay, yeah, all them brothers. What happened? So what happened when two tables and a microphone came in the computer, and the drum? They said, well, we can eliminate some of them brothers in the band. We don't need all them. Took away the real horn section. Took away the cowbell, the maracas.
Yeah, it's a cost factor thing.
It's a cost factor. Okay,
Right.
and so they start chipping away at the black musician. And then he didn't know what to do. And then what happened? They didn't know what to do. So what happened? They had to become a side session player, going back to the clubs where they left. They thought they wasn't coming back to that club no more. End up going back to the club, doing session work for Dallas Austin, or working with the rappers, doing beats, getting with Dr. Dre or whatever the case, or maybe going overseas or turning over to jazz music.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So they had to change their genre of music. They could no longer do funk because it wasn't happening. Like people always want to know, what would Mark Adams do now? I said Mark Adams now? He wouldn't be doing no funk. He would have to get rid of he can do a funk revival, but no new funk, because things is different now. The listening ear is different.
It's very interesting you said that, and I don't want to belabor this comment because I think I made it in the first show we did, but we talk about a funk revival movement, and something just also came to mind, so I need to say this in sequence to make sure that I bring the point across. But when Bruno Mars and the Hooligans came out roughly 10 years ago with Uptown Funk,
yes, sir,
the whole culture thought that funk was coming back to radio. And understandably so, because of what they were doing. What I had a discussion with another friend who's been in the industry and a studio owner in Miami. I think what a lot of people don't know is the reason that Uptown Funk and his subsequent singles really charted high on the charts is one thing and one thing only. His record company at the time, I forget who it was, they decided to take a calculated and big gamble risk. A risk means that either you're going to come out on top or come out on the bottom. For whatever reason, they took a calculated and a financial risk and they came out on top. So what had happened with their record company and the marketing of Bruno Mars and the Hooligans with these particular releases made it look like funk was on its way back, because those tracks were in super heavy rotation along with other tracks of trap and the current black contemporary music scene. So a lot of us were thinking that funk was coming back.
But guess what? I got one for you, though.
Yes, sir.
It had nothing to do with us. Let me tell you why. When Bruno Mars came out with Uptown Funk, you know who that was really catered to? Young white kids in search of R&B and funk. It had nothing to do with us.
I do not disagree with you at all.
And
because
that's sad.
Rap has fallen into that same category.
Yes, sir.
for decades.
For
now.
decades.
For decades now. But it's interesting because I knew that because of where the industry was at that particular point, funk was never coming back to the radio as it has been in the 70s and the 80s.
Well, check this out.
Okay, it was done only because of
it was a gimmick.
I'm gonna use this word carefully. not the evolution, because when you think of evolution, and a friend of mine who's a producer brought this to my mind because I use that word evolution probably too loosely. The industry changed. When you think about evolution, usually if you think about any example of that, it means that things have gotten better. And they've also changed, but they've gotten better. Usually when you evolve, you get better. So I'm going to use the word change. The industry has changed to the point, for many reasons that we won't get into now, that funk was not coming back. It had its day.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
It had its day. It had its day.
Yep.
It wasn't coming back in a heavy rotation.
Right.
So all those Bruno and the Hooligans were very successful for a time. They weren't nearly successful from a everyday rotation point as a Parliament Funkadelic or a Lakeside or a Barcades, which we'll get to shortly.
Dig it.
So yeah. I agree with you 100%.
And Doug, to piggyback what you're saying, here's a scary thing too. I've learned so much too by studying the situation we're talking about. Because, and then 24 karat,
yeah,
that's a bad jam. But what I noticed that I studied it, because how I studied it, I hang around a lot of young white kids and Spanish kids, and I watch their reaction, especially young white girls. Young white girls now are the new light funk audience. They like it spicy. they can go to Taylor Swift, the Bruno, and Quick Mint in a quick second, because they like music. They get woo. They'll let them smoke a joint or drink some a Powerade. They lose it. And you know, they like to dance and like see one, and also too in history. Let's study the history of us. B.B. King, Muddy Waters, Howlin' and Wolf. When they find out that they got a white audience, they're gone. That's who made them. B.B. King said, when I had that white audience, my life changed. So the white people will always, because one thing about the black audience, we're very funny. We may love you on Wednesday and give up on your ass on Saturday. I mean, give up too. And the only thing that revives us if we're doing a Tom Joyner or a Soul Train Essence boat ride, where you get the Daz band, this band, with only one original member.
Well, you know, there's that what you mentioned, us being fickle like that, is the primary reason. This is the primary reason why groups that you mentioned just now, those are very popular in the 80s. It's not just a generational thing, but because if you happen to have the opportunity to go overseas, that's why these same bands fare in Europe and Japan far better than they would ever fare here in their own country. Because those who appreciate the music overseas are simply not one thing, and that word is fickle. It's simple. You think about if you just happen to see the crowds that are garnered overseas when these groups perform.
Yes.
They're almost selling out Coliseum type crowds, but they cannot do it here.
No.
A boat ride, maybe. A venue, maybe.
Yeah.
Outdoor venue, but it's not like they did when they were riding high in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s. It's just, again, the industry has changed, and there's a lot of things that have changed with it. So, yeah.
And and that's amazing. Also too, with us, and for black people to be fans, it can be costly. We're a funny people, man, because we have so much other things to worry about sometimes than just. See, we don't have the luxury to enjoy music the way other cultures do, because sometimes our life is 24/7 worried about other stuff. And sometimes the ticket prices, certain venues, it's always something with us. But when we get it, we love it. When we do have a core black audience, it's like having heaven. There's nothing like when we appreciate each other. It's like constant joy. And I noticed Prince too. Prince is a deep study. Prince is deep. When Prince came out with his little underwear, bikinis, and boots and stuff, as he got older, he was slowly forming into the 45, the cassette, and the album. And then in his last days, he grew his afro.
Right.
there was no going back. What Prince was actually becoming the album. Prince was the actual 45 to 33 in the album. After a while, he got disgruntled with the business. He would say, hey, man, all I want to do is just play some music. This other stuff you're doing to me business-wise is killing me, in variational ways. And Prince, no matter what, had the gift to hang on. Bruno Mars, he did Love Train by Confunction. Did a good job on it. So he found this niche in being that one to keep the soul and the R&B consistent. And plus, he has the it factor to keep it going. See, if Bruno didn't have that it factor, it wouldn't be happening.
That's true. Absolutely.
Right. So,
Absolutely.
but here's the good news, though. Here's the good news. What goes around comes around. We're at a crossroads right now where we have been musically dumbed down, computerized, and we're in the crossroads called nowhere. And people, Doug, here's the good news. People are thirsty now. They want something with depth. People want music now. They want something. Me being a funk prophet, I can feel it. If somebody say, well, Rex, how you know? I can feel it. I can tell. People, they want something, and guess what? They want new stuff with an old school feel to it. They really want old school. They want the remembrance of what was in a new kind of way. And that's the good news. And speaking of that, speaking of the flashback to the new,